Recording in progress. I welcome all of you. I have we have here today participants from many parts of the world, but in particular, we are focusing today also in our distinguished part of the network that is located in sub-Saharan African countries. And I say send to all of them warm regards from Turin today. Yes, the agenda today is inspiring. We are having several consecutive actions in this partnership on social inclusion, and I will pass the floor now to my colleague Lida, who will let you know what is going to be learned today all together. Lida, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And thanks everybody for joining. And it continues all this exchange and information on what the members of the ETF facilitated and supported Centers of Excellence is working on. Now, for our network, which is social inclusion, we have many members, and we are grateful today to have our sub-Saharan African colleagues in their great work that they are doing. Just one line I want to say. We look at in the network, and with all the members, we look at different themes. We don't look at the skills for inclusion in the old way, as we all know. It's in a very innovative way. Last week, we had technology and innovation. Today, we will have all the partnerships and what it is being done, being it from the ministries, local authorities, vet providers, private sector, and all the international organizations that support it for pedagogy innovation in all the vet schools or vet centers for skills for inclusion. We will exchange. Please, we want to have a very active participation from all these excellent experiences and in big numbers and in big projects that will be presented. Put as many questions as you can, have an interactive exchange with your colleagues, and then definitely, and as always, we'll follow up to share everything, but also to follow with us what other experiences we can capture, because also next week we will have another example from our members. We wish we could have all the 11 to 13 members that we have who are doing a major work, but it will be followed up in different platforms and with different work. So please, your contribution, your questions, what you are doing will help us a lot, and the network to not only to learn from you and to exchange, but to build on your work, not to invent the new world. Is building on what has been already developed, and it has given impact and results, and we want to work with our members. Thank you very much, and we are so happy to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lida. And before introducing the agenda, I would like to give some technical information. I wouldn't call it rules, but I would ask all participants to keep their microphone mute during the presentations. I inform you that the event will be recorded, that for questions and comments, you may easily use the chat, and the questions and the comments will be shared with the speakers, and also that you may activate the subtitles, which will be automatically provided in English. As for the agenda, we will start with a presentation from Humana, People to People, and from Ana Ramos, who is the head of policy and institutional affairs. Her presentation will be then followed by a presentation and some videos from DAP Malawi, and we have different speakers. And then we will have a presentation from DAP Zimbabwe and Ponesai. And we will finish with a presentation from Centro San Viator in Spain and Jobitech in Nigeria. So I will, sorry?
Thanks, Germano, because we have also the management, Yorgos here, so he can put it in a bigger picture of all this work that we are doing with the members, with the EU development, and also what we are doing in ETF for all the cross themes that we have in the Centers of Excellence. Yorgos, if you can give the bigger picture before we go then to the real cases that we are looking at. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Apologies for connecting with a small delay. Nice to have you on board. I see quite a few people on board, and if I take into account that this is the second workshop in a row in a distance of 2 weeks, having so many people connected, I think is an achievement, and it shows the interest for the topic, social inclusion, and in this case, the innovation in pedagogy, but also shows the interest in exchanging ideas and learning from each other. I think this is a key element for this network, and I would dare to say that looking at the faces also on the screen, very familiar faces, is becoming a bit of a community. So that's nice, and this is where we want to go. You know that the work on Centers of Vocational Excellence, of course, expands in different dimensions. What is special for social inclusion is the approach that we as ETF decided from the very beginning that excellence is not just for the few. Excellence is a process for progress, and within this progress, we need to be inclusive. And being inclusive is also part of the way we grow as institutions and organizations. So we take that very seriously, and that's why we have this sub-initiative within the ENE network. The ENE network, as you may have heard, I know that Jose Manuel stepped in my absence. I thank him for that. We have almost 300 members in our network nowadays, from many different countries, more than 40 countries in Africa, in Asia, in Europe. There is constant cooperation with all members in different areas. Members can pick where they have, let's say, a warm interest. I'm thankful to Humana and to Ana Ramos for the cooperation we have been having the last few years. It's fundamental for us, this cooperation, because it gives us a different perspective, and we're going to hear about that today. At the same time, we work, of course, we are an EU agency, so we work very closely with the EU. And you may know that we are running different contracts with them in order to develop tools that Centers of Excellence can use all around the world in order to self-assess themselves towards this progress of improvement. And that is very, very important. We are going to have a big event here in Torino in November to actually show those tools. That will be the end of the first part of the contract we have with the European Commission. You will all hear about that soon enough. We're in the preparatory stage. So our effort is to maintain these discussions with all of you, to learn from you, and at the same time to facilitate and enrich this discussion with tools that could be used by Centers of Vocational Excellence. So thank you for this short intervention, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Lida, back to you.
Thank you very much.
Lida, would you like? Now we all ears and eyes, we are looking now to the experiences that will be shared from the members. Thank you. You carry on now, Germano. Okay.
Thank you very much, Lida. So I would leave the floor to Ana Ramos, Head of Policy and Institutional Affairs at Humana People to People European Hub. The floor is yours, Ana.
Thank you very much, Germano, and good morning to everyone. You're showing my presentation? Yes. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction of Humana, and especially about our approach towards social inclusion in the field of TVET. Next, please. Humana is an international network of 29 independent local NGOs working towards the sustainable development of vulnerable communities. Our development programs in those sectors that you see there on the right reach over 15 million vulnerable people across sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and Asia on an annual basis. And since the origins of our organizations, social inclusion has been at the forefront of our mission. And this is, of course, reflected in our Tibet programs. Next, please. Sub-Saharan Africa, Humana's member organizations run a total of 16 private Tibet schools in rural areas of Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And we have a total of 75,000 graduates in total to date. The main aim of our Tibet programs is to empower young people through a collaborative process. And by empowering, we understand the concept of empowerment as a process of building capacities to exercise control over one's life. So in this regard, what we do is to help vulnerable youth to increase their ability and confidence with soft skills, and we provide them with technical skills and support for entrepreneurship so they can be active change makers in their communities and create opportunities for themselves, but also for others. As I said, our schools are private, but they are run in collaboration with the national governments. All the qualifications are nationally accredited, and partnerships are built both with the communities and the local private sector to guarantee that training meets community needs and the labor market demands. So besides the formal institutional courses, a number of colleges provide informal training and outreach program opportunities to facilitate access for those who may not meet formal entry requirements or who cannot join a formal program for different reasons, as we will see later in the two examples from Malawi and Zimbabwe. Some other colleges also support secondary school to include vocational training. All of our programs are socially inclusive, or rather they particularly target vulnerable groups, namely rural youth, girls and young women, and persons with disabilities. As Yorgos was saying, Humana vet schools have been part of the ENE network, and also Jose Manuel, for the past 3 years, and we are immensely grateful for this opportunity to exchange with peers and learn from others, colleagues from Europe and other regions of the world. However, it's undeniable that there are large differences between the context where each of us work. So I would like to highlight some key information, some key data about the context where we work, which is Sub-Saharan Africa. Next, please. Africa is the youngest continent of the world, and more specifically in Sub-Saharan Africa, around 70% of the population is under the age of 30. This results in about 10 million of young people entering the labor market every year, while only 3.1 million jobs are created, which leaves vast numbers of youth unemployment. But if you do a quick research on the internet, you will be surprised to find incredible low rates for youth unemployment in Sub-Saharan Africa, which is around 11 to 12%, well below the global average, right? However, the low unemployment rates among young people partially reflect the fact that many cannot afford to stay unemployed, and they need to engage in precarious, insecure, and informal jobs. And the reality is that 1 in 3 of young Africans who are employed, not unemployed, live in extreme poverty. Regarding education, Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates of education exclusion. Almost 60% of youth between the ages of 15 and 17 are not in school. And this rate, of course, gets worse for girls and young women and people with disabilities. If we speak about digitalization, I thought it was important to put this figure here. It's important to be aware about the internet penetration rate. That is the percentage of the total population of a given country or region that has access to the internet. And that rate is 29% in Sub-Saharan Africa, compared to 87% in Europe. Regarding gender equality, females fall behind males in human capital and related measures across most of sub-Saharan Africa. Girls are less likely than boys to complete secondary education, often due to child marriage, adolescent pregnancy, and the huge burden of domestic work for girls and women. Last but not least, sub-Saharan Africa is one of the regions where climate change is expected to push the most people into poverty. Almost 40 million people will be pushed into poverty if things continue at the current pace. Cyclones, droughts, floods, and changing rainfall patterns are striking the lives of the communities where we work on a daily basis. Next, please. So focusing on the barriers that we address through our TVET programs, I wanted to highlight a few, like rurality and remoteness. About 3/4 of the global poor live in rural areas, and these people are twice as likely to be in informal employment as those in urban areas. And rural areas are generally more affected by the challenges, by a number of challenges as a result of weak traditional infrastructure, limited budget, geographical barriers, and limited access to digital infrastructure, just to name a few. But in addition to the lack of infrastructure and basic services, including roads and transport, in the field of VET, we see a clear urban bias in the distribution of TVET institutions. And one more thing I wanted to add here is that there are not a lot of trainers who are willing to live and work in those areas. Regarding the financial barriers, those lock learners out of TVET, as many young people cannot afford the cost of attending school, transport, or they simply cannot stop working to go studying. So this pushes many to go into informal apprenticeship, which hinders opportunities for further education on the one hand in the formal TVET, and also hinders the opportunity to access decent employment in the formal economy. On the other hand, financial barriers also significantly impact learning outcomes, as many need to combine their studies with work. About language barriers, there are more than 2,000 different local languages in Africa. So you can imagine the challenges this poses when educational programs are just taught in English, Portuguese, or French. The sociocultural barriers especially affects women, as I mentioned before, and persons with disabilities. Only 10% of all children with disabilities under the age of 14 are attending school. And this affects not only school enrollment, but also affects their integration into the labor market. Women in traditionally male-dominated trades, or as we will see later with the case of Zimbabwe, consumers often do not want to be assisted by persons with disability or by a woman. Regarding the labor market challenges, there are skill mismatches driven by lack of labor market information systems, non-organized private sector, or too small or too weak to contribute or engage in the TVET ecosystem. There is a lack of access for funding for youth, lack of business support, and the business environment, as we all know, is not always the best. Finally, something that I didn't include in the slide, but I think it's important to mention, it's non-inclusive environment. The nature of the built environment is a major barrier to access and progression of learners, especially, again, young women and those with disabilities. And the lack of resources often results in TVET institutions that are not equipped with acceptable washrooms, boarding facilities for young women, and disability-friendly infrastructure, which of course discourages the participation of these groups. It's also important to mention here that special educational needs and needs of learners, such as those with disabilities, are not often catered foreign teachers' pedagogical approaches. So that's something that we also tackle in our programs. Next, please. So just to finish and summarize our approach towards social inclusion, it is basically based on availability, provision of quality and relevant TVET programs, not only for the labor market demands, but also for the needs of the local communities. Accessibility for vulnerable groups through scholarships, outreach programs, and awareness-raising activities within the communities. Adaptability of academic programs, delivery, trainers, and facilities. And the collaboration with local communities, public institutions, local private sector, other TVET institutions, community-based organizations, NGOs, and international partners. Next, please. So today you will hear about our cases, two very special and innovative cases from our schools in Malawi and Zimbabwe. And I hope that you will be inspired and you will contribute and be actively engaged. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for your clear explanation. You definitely operate in very challenging realities, but I am sure that we are now going to see how pedagogical innovation can actually support social inclusion in the areas that you have just presented to us. So thank you very much. I would now leave the floor to Eno Kuma from DAP Malawi, although I think there will be a video before his presentation, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, the colleagues from DAP Malawi will be Eno Kuma, who is partnership manager, and Charles Salema, who is principal. So the floor is yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, maybe when we play the video first.
Pardon?
There's a video which has to be played.
Okay.
Yes. Video number one.
I asked the colleagues to share the video.
Yes, just a moment, please. We're having one bit of a technical issue, but we'll be sharing immediately the video.
We want to congratulate you for bringing so many stakeholders and people around the table. So,
thank you.
I'm sorry, Anok, can we start with the presentation? We are having some troubles with the videos and we can share it later on, if you can.
Yeah, that's not
Nadia, I can share it. If you allow me to share
Yes.
my screen, I can play it.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the issue.
This cooperation within the community.
Sorry, there is an issue.
Yeah, I was trying before, but it's not working.
and now be live with the whole team and talk about it.
We are live here.
Rely only on so start talking.
Enoch, if you want to start with the presentation.
Ilaria?
Yes, I'm here. Shall I start with the presentation?
Yeah, I think you're playing all the videos at once.
Yes, yes, we can play all the videos in the end. Hopefully it will work as it did with the technical trying in the beginning. So I will share your presentation so that you can start with your contribution. Yes, sure.
Yeah, you need to go ahead with your presentation.
Okay.
Well, as I started, I'm Enoch Juma, representing Development Aid from People to People, Malawi. I will just give you a brief background about DAP Malawi, and then my colleague Charles, who is the principal for Nikolongwe Vocational School, is going to give us an overview of our of the whole presentation. So my humble duty now is just to talk about DAP and the vocational school in brief. DAP Malawi, in full, is Development Aid from People to People. Started its work in Malawi in 1995. And we are working in 4 programmatic areas. We are in education, vocation, training, and the early childhood development. We are also in health, where we are implementing projects in reproductive health, HIV/AIDS, TB, malaria, and the child and neonatal health and nutrition. And we are also into agriculture, food security, and the environment, where we are working with communities, building their capacities to be able to produce food and cash crops for themselves and also for selling. And we are also into community development, where we are organizing families in various households. Ilaria, that's slide number 3, the one that I was presenting. We are still on slide number 1.
I think we lost.
Next slide. Next slide.
Yes, I'm number 3.
Slide number 4.
4.
Can you hear me? Yeah, yes, thank you so much. So I'll just also talk briefly about the Nikolongwe Vocational School, which is also a center of vocational excellence. Nikolongwe Vocational School was established in 1997, and we established to equip youth with the technical and entrepreneurial skills, and also training youth. The school does not only train youth in the skills, but also train them to become dynamic, responsible to overcome the challenges. And also the school is registered with the Technical, Entrepreneurial, Vocational and Education Training Authority and the Ministry of Labor, where we are working together with hand in hand with this government arm. And so far, we have trained over 13,000 youth in various vocational skills training. The school started with one course in 1997 at a rented place, but as of now, maybe we do not see the video. We have our own place where we are providing the trainings. the place was constructed by various partners. Various donors came, others were just coming to construct maybe one block, one classroom, a library, up until now that we have expanded, and the we have the capacity to provide boarding to over 300 youth at one time. So that's the brief about the Migorongo Vocational School and about that Malawi. Over to Charles. Slide number 5.
Yes, hello everyone. Greetings from that Migorongo Vocational School. But maybe before I start making a presentation on the slide number 5, allow me to recognize the presence of Mr. Jordan Banda from the data. Welcome. Yes, so what we do as the Migorongo Vocational School, we provide formal and also informal training to youth in Malawi, and we have the following courses at the college: publication and wording, which runs from level 1 up to level 3, plumbing level 1 up to level 3 as well, carpentry and joinery level 1 up to level 3, tailoring, fashion and designing level 1 to level 3, electrical installation level 1 up to level 3 as well. And then we have also cosmetology level 1 up to level 3, bricklaying level 1 to level 3 as well, shoemaking, which we have basic and also advanced levels. So under shoemaking, this basic training runs up to 3 months, as well as also the advanced level. So number 9, we have agriculture, which also runs from level 1 up to level 3. And finally, we have community development with level 4, level 5, and level 6. Let's go to slide number 6. So here we have some figures about the situation in Malawi. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the world. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the world, with the 50% population of the youth. And the population is 20 million, with an exponentially high population growth of 3%. And that has caused pressure on the economy as well as also resources. And the country is faced with high 2, low labor market opportunities, 3, low skills base for most youth. And then an even distribution of wealth is also very common with the poor masses in rural areas. Very few programs targeting the vulnerable groups, especially youth and people with disabilities. And we have also high school dropouts with limits attainment of further education for most youth in rural areas. And finally, we have also effects of climate change, and that has reduced the economic opportunities for most Malawians. Slide number 7. Yes, who are we trying to include? We are all excluded on one way or the other, but some are more excluded than others. So many youth in rural areas face many serious barriers and challenges that if not addressed properly, will keep them in poverty for their whole lives. And this requires a holistic approach. We understand that many adolescent girls in Malawi are school dropouts and will have difficulties to attain any sort of education, which is further exacerbated after they get married and or have children. Such being the case, tailored skilled programs are also helpful to take their situation and needs into consideration. We also realize that youth living with disabilities needs special care in terms of accessibility and skills training, such that teachers' training on disability inclusion and adaptation of schools facilities becomes also one of the key elements that should also think through. And we understand as well that the brain is the main driver in skills development. Many youth in rural areas have diverse cognitive as well as the different levels of education. So sensitization or sensitize the trainers and pedagogy adapted to different students' needs to bring everyone together on the same level. So indeed, we are trying our level best to make sure that those who are excluded should be included as well. Slide number 8. So adaptation of school facilities for people living with disabilities. The school conducted as access audit for Migorongo Vocational School, which revealed that accessibility for people with disability was a big challenge. So based on the recommendation, the school was rehabilitated, such that ramps were constructed in all access points. Signposts directing the people who need assistance were also mounted, and the height of doors were also adjusted downwards, and additional rooms were also constructed. You can go to slide number 9. Going a step further, our mobile training model. We developed a mobile training model, which is an innovation from community development work, and it was also sponsored and also supported by Simpan. We have a track which is equipped with the training tools under this mobile model, and we have also equipment in it, tens, solar power, and also electronic gadgets, which we use for the trainings. We also use tablets with the training instructions and materials for instructors that ease their work as they deliver their lessons out there. So we go closer to the most vulnerable among the vulnerable to facilitate accessibility to skills development and the other so many lessons related to development skills. So the training runs up to 4 months. Sometimes based on the donor, it can also change. But however, experience has shown that this mobile training program is run up to 4 months. And the training targets youth from hard to reach areas, particularly young women. We adapted the training curriculum into local language so that I think the lessons and the contents of the skills traits should be also imparted and also acquired by these beneficiaries without complicated problems. So the language is in local language. We use locally available materials for the trainings as well, and mainly using demonstration as methods. So with this approach, the practical takes 90% part of it, while the theory is 10%. They can have a greater control of their future by starting their business, especially these women that we are talking about and the young girls after undergoing the mobile training. So as a mobile Malawi and Migorongo Vocational School, we have also reached out to many beneficiaries in rural areas. Let's go to slide number 10. Unique approach trillion system. So allow me to share with you the trillion system before I take the points that we have under this slide. This trillion system is a system whereby the beneficiaries are grouped into 3 and they are provided with the training resources like startup kit. So we believe that by providing this startup tools and trillions, we cement or strengthen the work relationship that should exist between these three. So that's an approach that we normally take as a school. So we know that skills alone will likely not to make a substantial change in youth's life. We train the youth in entrepreneurship using locally available models and also demonstrations. The vulnerable youth have their own role models. So we do not import role models from urban areas, but rather we use the already existing role models from the typical areas. We invite artisans and business people to share their experience so that they should at least get motivation and also excel in their chosen trades and skills. So the role models adopt students for mentorship and coaching after the theory and the practical lessons. Slide number 11. Going a step further, our mobile training model. Mobile training increases inclusion for people in hard-to-reach areas, people with disabilities and other vulnerable groups, including girls and women. So mobile training does not disrupt youth economic activities, e.g., they are able to work in their gardens before they start classes, and all family responsibilities, especially for girls who are married or have children. So in other ways, we are trying to say it is a cheaper approach because students or the beneficiaries, they need not to travel all the way from their localities to school. So this one is an advantage as they also tend to do some other activities in their respective localities. So mobile training is time and cost effective for the youth as they do not need to travel or stay at boarding school to access education, as I have highlighted. So mobile training delivery can be easily improved with the technology, and among other technological methods that we should be at least employ by integrating distance online or offline modules to youth who are able to read and write. Mobile training improves the quality of training and it pays more attention to individual needs of learners, as the instructors are able to provide instruction to individuals on one-on-one basis. So mobile training promotes community involvement as the community help in the identification of places where the vehicles can be parked, and they support in preparation of food and also refreshments for the vulnerable, even contributing with the food. So this is one of the role that the community members can also play under mobile training model. So we can go to slide number 4. So here we have impact. Under this slide, we have at least registered 720 beneficiaries under mobile training, while 900 youths have benefited under satellite training approach. And again, 1,300 outreach trainings has also benefited young Malawians under outreach training. So maybe people might have been interested to know what we mean when we say satellite training or outreach training. So allow me to share with you a little bit of these approaches. Under satellite training, Megolongo Vocational School finds opportunity to make use of already existing teachers training colleges that we have in Malawi. So we have 4 teachers training colleges in Malawi under DAP. So when demand comes, we may also negotiate with our friends from teachers training colleges to use these already existing colleges to accommodate some of the beneficiaries when it comes to training and the like. And the outreach training is an approach where as a school, we normally go out in the typical rural areas, stay there with our equipment and also training facilities, train the youth for a limited period of 4 months, and thereafter we normally also come back. So these are the approaches, the 3 approaches that as the DAP we normally follow and use. Let's proceed to slide number 13. Potential for replication. The mobile vocational skills training module can be replicated anywhere in the world. It is an effective tool to reach people living in remote areas or who with special living conditions and situations, and equip them with the various set of skills. So after DAP Malawi piloted this program and also implemented the mobile training, the government of Malawi also through Technical Entrepreneurship and Vocational Educational Training Authority data replicated the mobile training module. They launched the mobile training to be implemented in all the 3 regions of Malawi. They procured and refurbished and also equipped the 3 15-ton trucks. I think some of the trucks are the ones that we can see far right there. So mobile training in long run is cost effective, and most importantly, it is a proven method to bring opportunities to those with fewer opportunities. Slide number 14. Factors to enable mobile training delivery. These are the factors that should be at least put into consideration in order to have effective mobile training delivery. So factor number 1, training providers. The trainers should be willing to stay and work in hard to reach areas for 4 months. That is one of the also outstanding factor under it. And number 2, enabling environment. The government policies should also allow out of class training. The government of Malawi already adopted mobile training, and any community commitments should also be part of the factors to be considered. And under it, community supporting the trainings, the clearing of the ways for the trucks. In many instances, the trucks get stuck in the mud, and the communities pull in one direction to reach the destination. So this is also the commitment that the communities should also have by their heart. Point number 4, private sector involvement. Joining hands with the trainers in the delivery of market relevant programs. So here we should also put into consideration the work relationship that should be there with the various partners and the stakeholders. Number 5, economic stability. This is one of the enablers to support the excluded. And 6, international agreement should be also one of the factors. And the agreement which can allow international private and public partners to support access to Tibet for marginalized groups. Slide number 15. At DAP Migolongo Vocational School, we normally facilitate the access to skills development for vulnerable youth facing social exclusion, so they can improve their livelihood. As a school, we strive to build functional communities through skills development modules which are sustainable, address climate impact, and contribute to enriching human potential that it triggers social and economic transformation. So allow me to repeat, as a school, we equip young people with the skills which support sustainable, productive, and also resilient community ecosystems. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so much for your time. Slide number 16, Olaria. Here are the links that you can use to reach out to us as an organization. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, a presentation not only of VET excellence, but also a top-notch example of how technology can support that and how that can enhance social inclusion. So thank you very much. I don't know if there are any closing remarks from Enoch before proceeding with the video.
Yeah, thank you very much, Germano. I think Charles has elaborated, and I don't know if the audience have one or two questions in the presentations or where there's a need for clarification. Otherwise, we can move ahead to the videos. We can start with video number 1, which is just, it doesn't have words, it doesn't have the narration, but it's just showing the map of our professional training center. And then from there, I will introduce the second video.
I have a question for the team that we have been working for 1 year and a half. And since we have exchanged with so many members that are from different countries, different continents, also we had the luck to be invited and ETF together with the Commission facilitated this participation of all the members to the San Sebastian Centers of Vet Excellence. What are 2 or 3 things that you can pick from what you have been exchanging in all these years you have been supported, but also with the developments in other parts of the sectors and systems, especially in different countries, being it a group of countries or individual countries that have inspired you most? Thank you, Enoch.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'll start. I think the 2 or 3 things that we have been promoting. The first one has been the social inclusion through the mobile training, which we have together with the government been promoting, and it has been further developed by the government, and we have been having the meetings in developing the model, the mobile training model, on how it can be implemented. And I think Jordan Banda is going to attest to that in his presentation, but that is one of the achievements that we think we have managed within the period that we have been together. And then our participation in the, we have been supporting our teachers. Some of our teachers have participated in some social inclusion trainings, and thanks to some of our partners who managed to support us in that. Which is the British Council and the NICOM, National Youth Council of Malawi, who facilitated the trainings or the workshops for the social inclusion, so that when our trainers here are providing the trainings to the youth, then these aspects also should be in their minds, and also supporting those who need support or special assistance. Yeah. And in different meetings that we have been having in Malawi, and we have been represented, and we have been talking about social inclusion and on how we can be able to support especially the youth living with disabilities. And in addition to that, we, of course, we did not win, but we tried to develop a proposal with the Malawi Council for the Handicapped, where we wanted to train people with albinism, especially youth, in various skills. Of course, the proposal submitted to EU, we did not get through, but that was that generated a lot of discussions in terms of social inclusion.
We want to thank you because in all the meetings that we have had, you are able to mobilize so many people, so many students, staff, private sector, and that is a big inspirational for us too, because it's not just doing the work in the field, but they are engaged also in your experiences and exchanges that you have with other partners all over the world. Well done, and thank you, and very grateful for what we have learned from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think from what I've said also, there's a video, the last video, where we also engaged the private sector in terms of social inclusion and capacity building, and it was based on the experiences that we have on social inclusion, that they engage that to train their youth and the people with disabilities, the elderly, so that they should be included in the trainings. Yeah, that will come in the last video.
Okay, so thank you very much. I don't know if before continuing with the other interventions, if we want to watch the video, if the colleagues are ready, or continue with the following interventions and then watch the videos.
Yeah, I can try to share it again. Let's see. Do you see my screen? Do you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, so let's give it a try.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, so as we are proceeding with our presentation, I know we are not managing our time well. We have time. We try to be as fast as possible because the videos are very short, the next videos. So the next video that we are going to show you is the of a female beneficiary from the mobile training. Her name is ENE Duncan. Yeah, you can play.
Uzinanga ndine zone Duncan makamuzi mwantura STM Mbera Bumarabaraka. Ineyo
I think we have problems with the quality of the video.
Yeah, maybe the connection now is too slow. We are at the worst hour to make this connection. I'm gonna try to share the second and the third videos. If it doesn't work, we can anyway share these videos in the ETF webpage. So we make a last try. It's a pity, but I think a connection, the word connection.
Listen, can I propose something? We are people to people and we can talk. There are some three important questions there, and if we can answer that. And for the videos, they are brilliant because they are hosting us in the continent. We will share after. So we stop with the video, and if we can open a dialogue with based on the questions that are put on the chat. Do you mind, colleagues?
No, I think
we should first hear from Tiveta. Then I can also just say briefly about those you have seen is Zuone Duncan, a female youth with albinism. She's from one of the remotest areas in Malaga district, and she dropped out of school. She has one child, has been having been taken good care of. But when we brought our van to her area, she was trained in tailoring, and now she's able to fend for herself and for her child and children. So that's one of the examples of the youth that we're training when we go out with our mobile van. But now I'd like to ask the next video is about our Nakala logistics, where we had a program on social inclusion and the capacity building. We trained over 1,000 youth and the people with disabilities in various skills. And right now they are able also to take good care of themselves. So those are some of the examples of our social inclusion programs, and the other private sectors can see that we are doing. And there are so many examples that we can share. So now I should hand over to Jordan Banda from Deveta for 2 minutes, just to share about the mobile training program or approach which they adopted or which they are scaling up in Malawi. Over to you, Jordan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Greetings from Malawi to you all. My name is Jordan Banda, and I work for the TVET Authority. It's an abbreviation, which means Technical Entrepreneurial Vocational Education and Training Authority. This is a government arm mandated to regulate the provision of TVET in Malawi. This organization was established in 1999 by an act of parliament. The vision is to ensure there's quality TVET in Malawi for socio-economic development. And our mission is to regulate, promote, and facilitate sustainable provision of quality TVET in Malawi. What it means is that our main job is to ensure that TVET is being provided in all institutions, but in a quality way. So we are a quality assurance body for the TVET provision in various institutions
of which Migolongwe is one of them. We normally partner with all the institutions that are providing training, ensuring that Malawians are undertaking training that is properly organized, properly implemented, and that they can be certified through the same system. Our participation in scaling up of the mobile training that DAP started, it's an initiative that we saw as very, very important, and also solving many of the problems that the youth are facing in the rural areas. There are so many barriers as already presented by the principal. So we decided to take part in this, realizing that Malawi has got a young population, and the youth are the resource that can help us to develop as a country. And also Malawi has got a vision 2063, and it is centered mostly on the participation of the youth. And every year, there are so many youths that go into the work or in the market. About 130,000 of them, they go in the marketplaces, but the jobs that are created in the formal side are only very, very few. That about 30,000 jobs that are created. This is the scenario because many of the youth that are out there, they don't have the capacity, the skills that are necessary for them to participate in any development work. And being creative and innovative to come up with the models that can help us to ensure that the youth are able to participate, of which mobile training has been looked at as the best chance option for such kind of attainment. So as a result of trying to participate in this, the authority decided to replicate what DAP started to implement. Therefore, we managed to procure 3 vans. During the presentation from the principal of DAP, it was shown there the 3 vans that were procured, and these are distributed in the 3 regions of our country, the north, the south, and the central, to ensure that the youth in the hard-to-reach areas can also have a chance or an opportunity to have training on their own as well. This beats a lot of barriers, as I already indicated, and this has also been highlighted in that presentation in terms of accessibility, because what we're trying to do is to increase accessibility so that we can treat issues like cost and ensuring that they can also be available for other economic activities in their areas, and that they are able to commute from their homes to the centers that are created as a result of the ban. This is something that will really ensure that many of our youths are able to access training from that perspective. It is our intention and continued intention to make sure we are partnering with so many organizations to give a chance to the youth to learn the skills that are employable and that they can have something to do economically and contribute to the socio-economic development of our country. This agrees very well with the theme of social inclusion, because these are the kind of people that are excluded, naturally excluded by virtue of lacking so many things that are required for them to access training opportunities. For the youth in the urban areas, they have got so many options. Even in terms of ICT, they are able to learn online. But for the youth in the rural areas, this is not possible. In Malawi, about 2.1% accessibility of the ICT in the rural areas, as opposed to about 15% in the urban areas. So this indicates a lot of challenges for such kind of youth to participate in many development activities that would contribute to the development of our country, but at the same time also contribute to their own personal development in terms of economically and also socially. So it is our it is our wish that so many people can also come in, organizations to partner with us so that we can create these opportunities so that many of our youths can actually have a chance to participate in such economic activities through training. Of course, TVETA is a regulatory body. It regulates the provision. Actually, the provision of the training is through various institutions that are available and also various organizations that are taking part in that. But in this case, we decided to join hands to ensure that an opportunity is created deliberately to make sure the youth are able to participate in such kind of training programs that will really help them to acquire skills that can help them to be self-reliant. Yeah, so that's what I can say as a comment to the presentations that have already been made. Thank you very much for listening. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much, Enoch, for summarizing the contents of the two videos. But I believe the colleagues are making a final attempt to show the videos to the participants, because this is very important.
Zinanga ndine Zone Duncan ndimakhala m'muzi mwa Ntura STM Mbeera boma la Balaka. Ineyo ndimakhala osangalala kwambiri pa ntchito limene anandipasa adabu. Nthawi imeneyo 2019 ndimene ndinatengedwa kukaphunzira maphunziro a layering ndi bungwe la adabu. Komano mbuyo muse kuyambira 2010 ndimatsika mbuyo chochita chimandisowa pamene ndimapanga ndimangokhala zipangizo zoziyenezo zapathupi panga ngati sovo yani zimakhala zikusowa. Komano chiyambireni cha programu iyi project itabwera ndinayilandira mwansangala ndipo ndinayamba bwino ndipo ndinasiriza bwino. Chisirizeni cha programu imeneyi inezo ndisowa sikuti zinatha ngati sopo zozithandizikira pa moyo wanga za tsiku ndi tsiku zimakhala ndikuzipeza m'njira yosavuta pakuzera ntchito imene anandiphunzitsa adabu. Ngati apapa ndi ndisalu izi zimene zimakhala zoti pa tsiku ndilo sikuti ndizokhala zayi zina ndazilonzi m'nyumbapo. Ndizoti izive tsiku ndi tsiku ndimakhala ndikutenga kasalu zitatu 4 kusoka madresi izi ngati za mayamvano kusoka ndeti pa tsiku ndi tsiku anthu amakhala kuboza tenga zinthu zawo mandipasa ndalama ndeti umwe wanga umakhala ukusangalala tsiku ndi tsiku. Ndithu ineyo ndimathokoza kwambiri adabu pondiphunzitsa ntchito ya manja ngati imeneyi.
So thank you. I don't know if there's a third video to be shown. Okay, if we are done with the videos, I would go back to Lida's suggestion because
we are having such interesting examples and discussions, and there are some questions. So please, can we engage in answering the questions, because it's very inspiring. Thank you.
Yes, there are 3 very interesting questions, at least 3 very interesting questions so far for you, Enoch, and the team from Malawi. The first question is, it's always very challenging to involve the private sector. What are the key steps that you took to get the private sector on board in your activities?
Do we answer one by one, or we get the 3 questions and then we answer?
Okay, so so I go on to the second question. The second question is if your programs also envisage training in companies, or if everything is carried out in the school laboratories, sort of informal, formal apprenticeship outside the school. And the third one regards the assessment system that you use for the mobile training, if it's integrated in the normal assessment of the courses.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The first one is the steps that we have been taking to involve the private sector in the trainings. And the second one is whether we also do trainings outside our college. You have talked about the companies, in the companies for apprenticeship program. And the last one is about the assessment system that we use in our mobile training.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll start with the first one. The first one, for the steps that we normally use to involve the private sector, is first the fruits that we have, like the promotion work that we do have, promoting the work that we are doing, showcasing some examples of the work that we are doing, and then that also attracts the companies to come forward and think of supporting the program. And the other one is of course, it's connected also to the apprenticeship program, where when you have sent out the trainees to some of the private sectors, then they tend to wonder, how did you get this? And some of them, they express interest to support the youth in rural areas, and then they approach us, or we have a discussion, and then we continue supporting the youth in the rural areas using the mobile training approach. So that's the main approach that we've been using. I think the results are the key areas that have been supporting us in providing the trainings together with the private sector. And then I think Charles can respond on the second one. Or the third one. Okay. The third one will be responded by Jordan.
Okay, thank you.
Whether we also provide trainings outside the campus.
Yes, on the second question regarding the trainings that we normally conduct, whether internally or externally. Yes, we have our own trainings that we normally carry out at the school in campus. However, we have not yet reached at that extent where we also take the trainings to the companies and industries. The only opportunity that we have as a school is that since we may experience some other shortfalls in terms of accessing the sophisticated machines, we have integrated in our system, in our training system, to make an opportunity for our students to go out and have the feeling of whatever is going on there. So we normally embark on the educational visit and also research system mechanisms that we have put in place to make sure that our beneficiaries or our students are having that opportunity to have an exposure outside the in-house system that we are following. Maybe Enoch may have also additions to that, or Leanne, my colleague.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think the trainings that we may say we are providing outside or within the companies is when the students have been sent out for attachments in the companies.
Yes.
And that's where they get the practical skills and the real work situation that they have to learn, because we cannot only be teaching them here and also providing all the practicals here. They have to experience, because at the end of their training, they will go out and they seek for jobs and even to work on their own, but they need to have the practical experience. For the third question, I think we'll invite Jordan to respond.
In terms of assessment of all the trainings provided in Malawi, TVET as a system provides or dictates how assessment is supposed to be done. It's in phases. The first phase is that the instructors who provide the instruction, they are the teachers, the trainers, but also provide assessments and record results. The second phase is where TVET comes in with the verification. There's an element of verification of experts to see what the trainers have done. To see what the trainers have done, and it is these experts, after the verification, that recommends for trainees or students to be certified by the system through the TVET program.
I hope we have responded to the 3 questions.
I was muted. Sorry. So I think there is actually a third video to show, which is the video about successful partnership in social inclusion. And then I would continue with the presentation in Zimbabwe. I don't know if the third video is ready for showing.
No, it doesn't work. The connection's too low just work. Right now. All the videos will be available on ETF, an open space platform. So I think we can go on with the next one.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I would leave the floor to the colleagues from Zimbabwe. I don't know, Priscilla, are you doing the presentation?
I'm doing it.
Okay,
it's okay. I'm taking charge of the presentation.
Okay, so Priscilla, we have a presentation from Priscilla Chiota, who is DAP Grant Administrator. The floor is yours, Priscilla.
Thank you. Good day to you all. I think the presentation, now that Kingdom and Terence are here, Kingdom is the program support officer in the education sector, and Terence is the principal for Pone Saivan Technical College. They've joined the webinar and they will present. Kingdom and Terence, may you take over?
I didn't know they had joined, so I thought it was you doing the presentation. So let me leave the floor to Terence Makumbe, who is principal at Pone Saivan Technical College, and Kingdom Chipukuru, program coordinator at DAP Zimbabwe. I am sorry for the pronunciation of the names.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am Terence Makumbe, as Germane said. I'm the principal for Pone Saivan Technical College. The college is actually owned by development aid from people to people in Zimbabwe. And I will also be co-presenting as you have presented with Kingdom. Literally, if we say Pone Saivan, literally it means that assisting people or helping people, actually in short. So it was established in 1981, just after the Liberation War. It's actually in rural Shamva district. The aim mostly was to integrate youth whose education had been affected during the war. I would pretty much say this is where the inclusion started. We've trained over 5,000 youths, graduates up to date. I would say we offer vocational skills training in different levels, with the entry points from the National Foundation Certificate. These programs actually, they are a year program at school, and also they've the second part where they go for attachments, which is almost 2 years, 1 to 2 years attachments. There are also short courses, what we call short courses. These are courses that have smaller modules. I will take example like we're building confectionery bakery studies. We have pattern making, garment construction pattern making. We also have motor vehicle maintenance. These courses, just to say, There are the very short courses whereby we train the student for 4 months at the school. Then they also go for 4 months attachment in the industry. Just to say, the National Foundation Certificate to diploma level, it's accredited by the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, and under the board, which is HEXCO, it's called HEXCO. It's also overseeing the standardization process and the certification on those courses. So on the shorter versions, the short courses, this is where we have also the academia, the universities. We are collaborating with the universities. Just maybe to give a background to say these short courses, they are there to actually plug the gap with those rural youths who are unable to go to universities, also from vulnerable backgrounds, whereby most of the time they don't need or they cannot afford university entrance qualifications or requirements, but they have their skills and passions. So mostly those short courses was a result of the collaboration with the universities and other vocational training in our region. So the curriculum pretty much was standardized and also produced to mostly cater also for these youths. As you are aware, we also have a lot of problems with youths who are out of school and those that are really itching to contribute or to the economy and also to improve their skills and also for their personal development. So we said, since from the collaborative pedagogy, that is the core session, it was also introduced in 2019 with a funding from VET Toolbox, where public-private partnership was also strengthened, the model. This was actually I would say an improvement, which it's also meant that even the infrastructure also for the college, it was also improved. Remember, we are over 40 years in practice, but we also were lacking also in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of social inclusion for people with disabilities. We also improved our infrastructure so that we can have also that the vulnerable group also participate in our in the courses. So pretty much even that also comes with capacity building for staff and also lecturers in terms of how to handle even students with the lower even cognitive skills and also with the disabilities. I would say pretty much after that, this has been really positive in terms of the impact in our communities. So I would say from this one, it was just a brief background. I also hand over to my colleague, Kingdom. He will also take over from here, from the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next slide, okay, it's this one here. I will present about the situation that we are currently facing in Zimbabwe. According to the recent conducted census in 2022, population and household census, Zimbabwe's population pyramid is a broad base, having about 67.7% under the age of 45. That is the base that we are having many youths occupying. The youths 18 to 25 are affected by unemployment much due to macroeconomic instability in the country. inflation, policy uncertainty, low productivity, inadequate business environment, and are not accessing finance, among other things, are some of the problems affecting the youths in the country. While all affected youths or by unemployment, almost most of them, 80% of these are from rural areas, and 52% of female are less likely to get employed. So that's the intensity of the social uninclusion we are facing. Less than 75% of youth with disabilities are also unemployed in the country. Then the TVET providers absorb 0.5% of youths. This is according to the Zimstat statistics. Because of lack of resources, few TVET institutions lack and lack of linkages among VET colleges. Other training instructions are limited. Job prospects also are limited. We can go to slide 4. Then our collaborative pedagogy ecosystem and social inclusion. We have the student as the main beneficiary, the youths. So our collaborative pedagogy, we had to include the communities, the public-private sectors, and other TVETs when when we craft our programs. We do very consultative processes with these institutions. So we have many meetings or consultations with these institutions, and we try to create inclusion within stakeholders and come up with ways to reach the marginalized communities and ensure that the selection or the participation is a bit fair and balanced, and we don't leave anyone behind. Next slide. Yes, our collaborative ecosystem, we target the following youths from the rural areas, the orphaned children, from children's homes, and the other street children. We have other CBOs, community-based organizations, or other NGOs who are assisting us with the enrollment of children from children's home and the street children. They actually fund these children and bring them for skills training in our institutions. Youths from poor backgrounds, yes, we also coordinate with the government system, that is the Department of Social Services. It's also it has a fund that also brings these youths to the institutions for skills and training. Youth with disabilities, we also coordinate with social welfare to target these youths, and we also offer training to the disability youths. Youth with very low educational achievements, as my colleague had said, we have the NFC program and the short courses. We try to bridge the gap of these youths to be included in the skills training, because when we are in a community that dwells much on academic achievements, so for those who might have not excelled on their ordinary levels, we say the future is not blinkered. We have some skills training for these youths. So together with the Ministry of Youth, we do awareness programs where we cascade this information and give them information to go and get trained to the institutions that offer such trainings. Girls and young parents, yes, we also ensure that girls and young parents get these trainings. We have a sister government program that is running because of the TVET program that we enrolled at our school, which is in a rural area, offering another chance again to these kinds of youths, the girls and young parents. So we, however, do not exclude these from well-to-do backgrounds. We are also inclusive. We have other youths from the urban areas who have good economical backgrounds, and they might not have entry qualifications into these higher learning institutions. We also give them that other chance to join the VET skills training. So I'll give back again to Mr. Makumbe to proceed with the next slides.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Next slide, please. Yeah, it's this one. The previous one. Yes.
Okay. If we look at the government policy, the 5.0 policy that the government has introduced for the past years, we can see that it's actually pointing towards TVET skills training and innovation. So then the issue, like we've highlighted before, is actually to say, how then do we, how is the inclusion, social inclusion part? Through these courses, as I've mentioned, if you look at the first one from the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, the NFC or the National Foundation certificates, actually now there is an agreement that a student can actually start even if they don't have enough qualifications. Actually, when they finish the NFC course, it actually contributes to the academic, I would say, qualifications to actually, would say, after graduating or after passing the level, then it's also equivalent to ordinary level subjects. So also HEXCO has also given us that opportunity so that we can also include those youths. And if you look at the statistics, there are actually many of those. And we have a lot of issues with now the drug abuse, also substance abuse, whereby youths, they need these skills so that they are taken away from the streets. Now, from the Ministry of Social Services and Scholarships, we are also looking at almost the same scenario. Say we have youth with these backgrounds, troubled youth from the streets, who also come are reintegrated into society. They are also come through the ministry, they are registered there, and they are sent to the school. And the school actually, also the staff was also capacitated, as I've indicated before, on handling some of the cases, even the counseling parts, even also the part whereby students, even with the disabilities, how we can also handle even the infrastructure. So the ministry also plays a vital part in identifying those youths and also sending them for skills training. Remember, there's been also, our communities are more like closed communities in a way that previously, even those the disabled those living with disabilities, students or youths, would be hidden away from society. They will be there, in the communities. Then I remember when we started to say, bring them forward for skills training, then they would say, no, we cannot bring this student forward. So it's actually something that has been going on to also sensitize these communities. Now they can actually see that there is a possibility, even if a student has disabilities. So through the Ministry of also Youth, Sports and Arts and Recreation, mostly youths, they are linked with this line ministry. And the line ministry also works much with those identifying of those youths also, with the vulnerable backgrounds. And even after the training, they do the monitoring. They also participate in the inclusion, and also they might also identify areas where they can establish their small enterprises, and also do the monitoring to see what kind of support do they need, and also help support in the best way that they can. So the ecosystem is quite healthy in a way. I would say that there is collaboration between all those, but if you look at the education policy, the 5.0, it's actually the government what has been pointing to because of these gaps that are existing now, especially with the universities, institutions. I've also mentioned we have Bindura University that we normally craft, that's involved in the crafting and also the curriculum and the standardization process of short courses, which can also plug the gap between those without university entry qualifications and also the vulnerable backgrounds. So this has been actually really insightful and also a lot of impact in terms of changing lives in these communities. And like as Kingdom has just said, we have now actually students who are coming from other universities coming for skills training. It's because of the economic situation also, then they feel that sometimes if you do the smaller modules, the skills training, then with the collaboration with the industries after the attachments on job trainings, they actually open their mind and they are actually seeing, okay, what is it that we can do now? How best can we enter the market? Can we establish our small enterprises? Or some are also absorbed by industry because of the skills that they are also getting. So this is actually much on the collaborative ecosystem with the public sector.
And we will present 2 short videos from government ministries to see how we are collaborating or working together with them.
Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Grenia Chaomba. I'm from the Department of Social Development. So I've been in this journey with the students at Pones Haivanu Vocational Center and Chamtech. It's a success story in terms of how things have been done in Zimbabwe. What we have managed to do as a department, you find that we make referrals. We have various partners or organizations who are there to assist us with making sure that those students or youths get scholarships. For example, we've got Higher Life, which assists us with scholarships for these students. Then, of course, the Minister of State, which is a government department from local government, who also are there to chip in to give scholarships to these students through the Office of the President of Zimbabwe. Then, of course, other CSOs or civil society organizations, for example, we've got Save Our Souls, which is SOS, is there also to assist through educational assistance in terms of maybe tuition and school fees, to assist these youths maybe with scholarships so that they can proceed and further their education in tertiary institutions.
We have one development coordinators employed by the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Art and Recreation who carry out all the youth development activities in the wards. So through them, we've been managing to monitor the funded youths. We've also managed to link the funded youths who have been capacitated with other youth organizations. For example, in Shamva, we have the SIA Youth Academy, where there is an incubation hub which managed to be created there for clothing and textile. We also have these youth graduates passing on the skill to other vulnerable youths in the community. We have actually managed to resume training at Shamva Vocational Training Center. So the graduates have managed to also pass on the training to their fellow youths. Beauty therapy was being trained by a graduate from. We have one of the graduates who also managed to engage with tea and bakeries, and it's managed to offer employment for her. She's also been coming to the vocational training to also pass on her skills to other vulnerable youths in bakery and confectionery studies. One of the youths as well who also graduated in motor mechanics, she's now employed in Botswana. As a ministry, we've seen the scholarship program, the partnership, is a huge success and a great impact to the development of our rural communities.
Yes, next slide. Yes, our collaborative ecosystem for social inclusions. Yes, for whatever intervention, the community buy-in is important. So we engage parents, traditional leaders, teachers in the public lectures and opinion-forming meetings, which have a transformational role where we ensure no one is compromised, especially people's culture and beliefs. Because certain culture might, like a culture of not educating the girl child, especially on the skills, they are exclusive cultures. So we train or give information on these unhealthy cultures, and then we promote the skills training for the girl child and other marginalized groups in the communities. We also ensure that the private sector plays a pivotal role in ensuring that these youths funded or these youths get skills. And we also have a large community as consumers of the programs that we are making. We move on to the next slide. Yes, we work with 42 private sector players as consumers of our services. And these are mainly training our youths with skills, the practical skills for attachments, industrial attachments. Work-based training is very key. So we partnered this, and we also have feedbacks from these institutions on where we need to improve and which skills also do we need to include in the curricula for these trainees that we will be training. So we also present one of our partner who's training our youths or giving the on-job training. Next slide, there is a video of the present, yes.
My name is Jacob Chirendo from Padi Apparel. We are into garment manufacturing in Bindura. We are in partnership with Pony Sullivan, which trains children in various skills. So our partnership is based on pursuing their training pertaining the production side, because usually they will be in knowledge of theory, so we'll be doing the practical part of it. So we've been in good relationship with them. We've trained almost 8 children. That is from last year going backwards. Now they are pursuing. They are about to bring other children for training.
Yeah, so this is one of our trainers, one of the 42 offering skills. So we now invite Dr. Chamnogwa Nyoni from Bundura University to present.
Thank you very much. As Bundura University, we partner Onesaiwan Technical College, primarily in curriculum development, standardization, and certification. We are also involved with course supervision of the students, especially when they go on internships. And we are also involved with evaluation and experience sharing through publications of issues that we believe could be recreated in other training centers. So as a training institution, we are very happy with the role that we are playing, and we think that this is going a long way in equipping youth, especially for enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Priscilla and colleagues, can I ask, are we continuing with presentations, or just to remind ourselves, it's the time, because we are close at the closure, at the time that we have also the EU presentations. And also there are so many questions, which some of them were answered with your presentation, but just to agree among ourselves, how much you will continue, because we need to also listen to the EU exchange, and then a lot of the questions will be answered also afterwards. We write down all of them, and so we apologize to the colleagues that have put the questions, and some of them got the answers indirectly, but we will answer properly from your experience. Just to manage the time for everybody and to respect everybody's time, because we had a great participation and interest. Thank you.
Yes, I was actually going to say that we are a bit behind schedule. So Priscilla.
I think we were left with a few things. Maybe I can just summarize. People can see the other things when you upload on open space. And I suppose what I can just do is just to say we wanted to look at a collaborative ecosystem, looking at what the vet providers, because within the network, we also have another network of vet providers where we have Chabinuka, which was going to present you were going to see a video as well. Then also we were looking at how the youth that have been trained have given back to the community. That is the section that was remaining, where we find that one youth found some space and she is training others in a container. She made a makeshift container to make it a training room, and she is training other students. Then the students who were given 2 kits are now using the 2 kits to train others at another college that does not have resources but can offer space. So that is how we were going to show in terms of collaboration with everyone, including the students, alumni. So that is what we were to present. I think people can get that from open space. You can upload that and people can play. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I I would then maybe, since we are behind schedule, leave the floor to the next speakers, and then we can leave some space for questions at the end. So I would leave the floor to Mr. Christoph, it's Alfredo Garmendia and Yaone Santortu from Centro San Viator in Spain, followed by Christopher Anso from Jobitech in Nigeria. The floor is yours.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon already here.
Yeah, afternoon. Yeah.
Well, it was very interesting listening to the previous speakers. Well, we know quite a lot about Malawi because we've been there before a couple of times, and they have been here. It was it's really interesting. We know rather well the situation there, and we know all the good things that Tibeta and the government are doing there, and the opportunities that they are. Okay. But well, here we are today to talk about SAM. And we say that SAM is always a bridge, in this case, a bridge to innovation. Okay. SAM is Support Alliance for African Mobility. It's a project funded by the African Union and European Union. It's a pilot program where for the first time we are piloting the mobilities of students and staff. In fact, now there are some chances to do capacity building projects, but all those projects are only for staff, for professionals, not for students. So this is the only, so far, the only project moving students, well, together with Overstep. That is another project that was approved in the same call. Our objectives in this project is to, well, pilot an action of education mobility between Africa and Europe, as I say, to learn, improve knowledge, exchange methodologies and good practices to nourish vet systems in Africa and Europe, and to bring both systems, vet systems, closer for future projects and mobility. We want to learn from what is happening in Africa. We want to learn how the systems are. We want to learn how they are teaching. And then we also want to show them what we are doing. So we all know we know each other, how we are working. Sorry, I didn't share. Sorry very much. I thought I was okay. The fields that we're working on are engineering, manufacturing, hospitality, and agriculture. This was decided by the call, not by us. It was an agreement between the EU and African Union. Okay, these are our partners. As you can see, well, it's a big partnership. We didn't need so many partners, but we decided to open the possibility to as many partners as possible. Okay, this sometimes is a problem because well, such a big partnership sometimes become a big dinosaur to move. But to tell you the truth, after 3 years, we are very satisfied, and the communication is rather good. The 3 phases of the project are state of the art of vet system in Africa. I mean, we had no knowledge at all inside the partnership. It was the first time that vet institutions were collaborating with vet institutions in Africa, and even though there are some reports, for example, from UNEVOC about the state of the art of vet schools in Africa, we realized that many of them are not very realistic. They have they are very institutional, coming from governments, but then when you go and visit the vet schools, you see that the reality can be sometimes a bit different. Well, the second phase was to create capacity building for African staff. In the first part of the project, we centered in the management area, in the managers, and how the schools are managed. And in the second part, that is where we are now, we center in the technicians. We learn what they were doing and analyze and agree on a capacity building where we could work together. And the third phase was the international mobility of African students, where we learn a lot. We receive students from our partners in Africa. We haven't sent any students so far because in the pilot project, in the call, it was not possible to send the students from Europe to Africa. As I said before, the capacity buildings. The objectives of the mobility for professionals was to train African staff on mobility itself, exchange methodologies and good practices, and create networks for mobility programs and knowledge transfer. We are very aware that if we want to build that bridge between institutions in Africa and Europe, we need to know each other very well, and we also have to share our knowledge about mobility and the internationalization of the school. We have a wide experience, and that is something that we can offer. But not only for the mobilities between Africa and Europe. Our idea is also that among our African peers in the future, they will be able to have their own projects out from our umbrella. And because, we saw that there is no many relation among the different better schools in different African countries. But the results was mobility training models, staff capacity building, and an action plan. All this is available in our website. Impact. Well, this is not updated now. The figures are higher, but let's say that now more or less we have sent about 110 more or less African staff to Europe. 64 EU mobility experts moved to Africa to implement the action plan and to create the mobility departments. We're still doing that. In fact, next week, I will go with some of our colleagues to Nigeria for the first time. It is the last country from the partnership to be visited by us. This February, in the previous February, we had trainings in Brussels where we tried to show them how we work at international level in the European vet schools, and they spent 1 week with us there and learning from each other, and another 3 weeks in their peer schools in Europe, doing, as you can see, job shadowings in the different fields that we have in the project. The international mobility for African students, this has been a big challenge. The objectives were educative and sociocultural experience for the students, improve their CV and employability, and analyze and conclude best practices for mobility. The results is the training models for excellent mobility results, good practices and documents for the mobility. And now we'll tell you we expect to reach to 300 African students that will be able to move to Europe, as I said. But that was the first idea. I don't know if we are going to be able to reach to those numbers because we are having different challenges, as for example, helping the students with their passports or with the visas. That is sometimes very complicated. But anyhow, all the students that come in this scheme, when they return, what we feel is that they go back empowered as they are multipliers to make the change. Okay, somehow they are being our ambassadors in Africa.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yayone and I will now take the floor. I will try to be as brief, as comprehensive as possible. On this part of the presentation, I will focus on what do we bring to the table as an institution. So I think that we have already talked about some project as an overall, and now I will try to give you the perspective of what we have done as an institution throughout our experience with the SAM project. So therefore, the first part has been a training, and that's what we are bringing to the table also on this presentation, which is about the educational tool that we have constructed, that it's mostly focused on soft skills. So we are trying to uplift the students that are participating in this experience throughout the acquisition of soft skills, such as communication skills and also intercultural competences that are normally not as present in BET, but which we consider to be crucial for them to be able to enjoy their exchange experience as well. As you can see, everything that is connected to this tool is also collected throughout this presentation, and you will have this available on the platform, on the open source. So I will not detain myself as much. Therefore, I am going to go also through the challenges that we have experienced throughout this experience, this project. The first one and the most important one is the visa-related issues. Unluckily, we have had a very hard time in obtaining the visas for the students that are participating in this mobility. First of all, because we had the need to collect passports from students and faculty members, and a lot of them honestly did not even have this documentation ready. So we had to go through the process of them obtaining a passport for them to, after all, be able to obtain the visa. For this, it is very, very useful. Honestly, this has been a trial and error for us. So we are only sharing our experience and the system that we have built throughout our experience in order to facilitate to do these exchanges. So we have acknowledged that it's very useful to have prior contact with the institutions that are in the African countries in order for this process to be possible. That's why the visits that, for example, Alfredo is going to do next week to Nigeria are so important, because it allows us to do this previous communication, this previous exchange with the institutions that are there, and that after that facilitate the process of the students to obtain the permits in order for them to be able to enjoy the experience. Then through the help of our partner Yes Forum, we have been able to help them to go through things that challenges, right, that they are going to encounter when they do the exchange in the different countries. Mostly the challenges that we encounter are on the cultural differences and on the language barriers, especially here in Spain. It's not really usual for the population to speak English. So we have had the need to adapt, right, to the ecosystem that the students are going to travel to. It's not the same for them to do an exchange in Finland, for example, where the population is highly known for having a good level of English, than doing the exchange in Spain, particularly in Sopuerta, the area where we are from, which is mainly a local rural area, and people are not used to speak English or be on international context.
So now, excuse me, yeah. I want to take the floor because I would like to share with your experience working with the students. So 1 year ago, the last August, Alfredo and I, we traveled to Malawi in order, to Lilongwe. I'm completely in love with Malawi. It's like my second home. And I would like to share with you our experience. We were there working with the students, organizing some dynamics in order to know which were their fears and expectations, because we wanted to organize a tailored training according to their needs. It's a very, very big mistake when you try to organize, to create a training, and you think that your technical knowledge is enough. No, it's a mistake. You have to check with them what kind of activities, what kind of theoretical things they want to know. So we organized a training, a tailored training program for them. And last November, the last year, they were here in Puerta, 1 month.
Enjoying the winter, the cold,
yes,
the rain. The cold rain.
The cold rain, because in Malawi the rain is hot.
Or warm. Yes.
For them, it was a very big surprise when they discovered that the rain here is cold. It was an amazing month. Every day they came to Centro San Viator in order to be integrated with the rest of the students, developing a tailored training program in different fields, electricity or automotive sector, yes. And after that, for example, the evenings and even the weekends, we organized all together different cultural activities or social activities. So now we think that probably next October, we will receive again a new group of students from Malawi, because in this time they are going to go to
companies.
Yes,
in
companies.
the first flow, they stay with us for a month. That they saw the question down there, and in the second flow, they will be with us for 2 months, but mainly in companies. First, they will come to school for 2 or 3 weeks, because first we need to understand the knowledge and what they can do before sending them to companies, and then they will spend the rest of that time with the companies.
So once again, next August, we will come back to Malawi to prepare them.
Well, you have said it all basically. I guess that the only thing left that I have to say is the observations that we did during this exchange, which, as Ainhoa has said, we decided to opt for a challenge-based learning, meaning by this that, as she has said, the students were assigned to groups based on the different challenges that they needed to do. For example, the students that were in electricity that Ainhoa has mentioned, they were concerned with building electric motors for bicycles. And after that, they have brought back that knowledge to Malawi, which I think has been great. And then we were very, very happy and very, very, actually surprised by the attitude of the students from Malawi, but also our students. All of them were very, very positive, and they were able to overcome that language barrier by the use of Google Translator on a very smart way that we did not expect. So that part was amazing.
Yes, one of their fears when we were there was that they were afraid of being excluded. And to tell you the truth, it was also one of our fears, how our students were going to welcome the students from Malawi. But once again, well, the answer of our students was amazing, the same as the answer of the students from Malawi. It was really, really amazing.
Okay, so now we leave the floor to Father Christopher, which is the second half of our presentation.
Yes, he's one of our partners in Africa, as we said, in this case from Nigeria. And well, they have very interesting things to say from their point of view.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you.
All right, so nice to share in this nice presentation and this workshop. For me, it's quite interesting. So I share in continuation with what Alfredo and Joanna have said already with regard to sound. So we can move to the next slide. Okay. So there we have the background to the SAM mobility. For us, it became a reality because right from after the launching of the mobility, we're wondering, when will this ever be? So the traveling restriction that came with the COVID-19 pandemic raised much doubt if the project will ever be feasible. So not until we had our first international meeting that came in Nairobi between May and June 2021. So that really gave us that spotlight and hope that this project will become feasible. So we registered the following success mobilities. The first one was there in February 2022. We had a staff mobility for which 3 of our staff went to Portugal and then 2 in Spain. Then in October 2022, we also had a successful mobility of the students who also went to Spain. So these 2 mobilities and the other meetings we have had also gave us that rare hope and quite interesting the impact this mobility has created in the lives of both our students and our staff. So the objectives and the achievements. So SAM project aims to unite African TVETs with the European VERT centers. So we have experienced that sense of unifying these two in the aspect of sharing of experiences and expertise. And also breaking stereotypes and promoting exchange of expertise. So because of the issue of stereotyping, Africa, European, the well-to-do and the less-to-do, so all this was broken with the experience we've had in this mobility. It has also cultivated an open-minded interaction and bonding amongst the partners. So we see in our own interaction, both in the aspect of the staff and also in the life of the students. And we are interacting with the SAM team, so it has been a cordial relationship and interaction. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so now with the aspect of the mobility, this mobility has been made possible through setting up the following criteria. We took first the aspect of selection criteria. So because all the students will want to be part of it to have this experience, but not all of them can be engaged in it based on the number that needed for the mobility. So we set down the selection criteria. First, we consider the academic performance, attendance in school, moral conduct, language, those who could also have that potential to learn, and then their medical fitness. So these were the criteria we set in place in order to select students. So after then, we asked the student to send in their application. It was open to all. As long as you have assessed yourself, see that you can fit in that, so the application was open to all. And after then application, we now ask those students who applied, we constituted a panel to screen and interview them. And that was fruitful. After the interview with the successful students, no, we still remain there, thank you. So the successful students were now presented to the school, and it was quite interesting now they were received and appreciated. And then we had orientation to confirm, because it was the issue of traveling. How would they be able to travel? Do they have the required documents? So that was ascertained. After then, those who didn't have passport, we have to begin the passport process, which was quite hectic, and then followed by the visa processing. And also we saw the need to include and involve the parents in this process. So then we had a moment, we invited the parents to come so that they will also understand the concept note with regards to the SAM mobility. And then they also had some agreements with the parents and the students. And then we also require consent from the parents. And we have the pre-departure section. We had internal in the school, and also with the SAM team experts, we also have that external section. And then the post accompany, they keeping in touch. So when they travel, we're also tracking them, keeping in touch to see how they are moving, the experiences are going. And then the post-mobility plan, coming back, what next? That is the aspect of the networking and continually sharing of experience. We can go to the next. Yeah, so this was the experience in Brussels for the capacity building we had there. Okay. And this was the moment we had with the parents of the students who went for the first mobility. So we had a good interacting section with them, clarifying doubts, seeking their consent, and asking for a strong collaboration. Yes. And this was the pre-departure section. First was with the SAM team, preparing them, and the receiving institution. They were also on board, try to dispel the fear, the doubts in the mind of the students as they prepare to embark on the journey. Okay, next. And this was the arrival, the picture of the students who embarked on the first mobility, the splash, when they arrived the institute, Corona de Aragon in Zaragoza. Okay, and part of them having their good times there. And this was the moment in the workshop, the training aspect of it. Indeed, they felt welcome, well integrated, and exposed to much activities and learning. So the experience was quite dynamic, not just in the aspect of the training, they also had other social moments. So it was something interesting. The way the program was designed, it wasn't a boring one. It was opening, quite expecting, meeting several things. And this was also moments they had in the sports arena there. Okay. And now this was the returning picture. So after the experience, they came back fulfilled and satisfied, but they expected the time would have been extended. So we say kudos to Corona de Aragon, Mundus, and Sam Viator, and the SAM team. SAM really made history. For us, this experience was quite thrilling. Yeah, so it's good now we share, because after the experience, we are demanding from the students to get their own side of this experience. Because from the sending partner, the school coordinator, is good they who have had that experience to also share their view. So this partner were some of the things they share. So I would like to share it equally with us. So one said, the SAM mobility experience was one of a great kind. It has paved way for many ideas and opportunities for me and my colleagues. There were lots of activities to facilitate duration of the program, and I am thrilled to be part of the amazing project. And the same students also shared another one. The positive outcome of this mobility towards the personal development cannot be overemphasized. It speaks for itself because the impact of the whole experience has created a room for future improvement of my life career. One of my major fears about this mobility was that I will not be given enough time to master into those courses which I was enrolled in, even though the mobility is an unprecedented one and still under tests or pilot phase. Okay, next. And still other students. One of the objectives of SAM is to build positive relationship between the VERT schools and the labor market through offering international vocational education programs, which will help students to maximize their skills and knowledge, making them a better version of themselves. I believe that this mobility will be an open door for many other international programs. And another student shared, the experience was an overwhelming one. We had a great relationship with the staff and students who, despite a barrier in language, did their best to make sure we felt welcome, and at the end of the day, had something to go home with. The positive impact of this program cannot be overemphasized. The experiences I had have caused a major lift in my personal and career development. It has changed my stereotype about a world outside where I have always existed. It gave me the opportunity and room for knowledge and cultural exchange. That was quite interesting. We can go to the next one. So this other student shared also the relationship between the staff and student is good. And the teacher were willing and always ready to give their best, both in practical and theory, which makes the student eager to learn. I would say that attending SAM was a valuable and exciting experience, and I will try to join SAM again in the future. So one also shared one of the challenges I encountered during the stay was a knowledge barrier, which slowed down our learning process and also in communicating with the students and the instructors. But with the help of Google Translator, I was able to adapt somehow. Okay. Then the other student said it was a bit challenging when I saw young people like me doing perfectly well in mechanical engineering. So I decided to be coming both morning and evening classes to meet up with them. I learned so many things that I wish that the program was extended for me to learn more so as to teach others. And I think that my stay there was a great benefit for me. So this is one of our students, female students, who is also in the mechanical engineering technology. So it was quite interesting how she was inspired through this. The next one. So the most significant of the challenges is a cultural shock, such as getting used to a different language, a different climate, different transport system, and different food customs. Additionally, I have a very short time to measure on the courses we were taught in school. So it was quite interesting listening to the experiences of the students. So that pushed us towards this, say that SAM mobility is indeed innovative pedagogy, which has become a motivating factor for our students' commitment to trainings, exposure to other innovations, openness to other cultures and networking, etc. It is a sort of project that should be promoted as well as sustained. Because with this, even in the life of our students, we could see that longing. Now we are preparing towards the second phase of the mobility. And many are also showing interest. Those who went before sharing their experience inspires others. And one of the criteria is for them to be committed to their training. And this has become a way, a pedagogy, innovative pedagogy to help them get down to the trainings we offer. So the last one. So as Jobitech team, we join our voice with that of Bonaventure saying, we thank God for the successful execution of the mobility plans. We also appreciate the General SAM project team for their generous and kind effort in making sure that this mobility was a success. And we hope that this first mobility will be a stepping stone for other mobilities to come in the near future. So thank you all.
Thank you, Father Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris, for the successful presentation. We are used to hearing about mobility within Europe. It's good to hear that there's mobility going beyond the borders of Europe, and of course the Erasmus program has now been extended to the third country, so we are very grateful for that. So since we are running much behind schedule, I would ask Lida to take the floor for closing remarks and maybe pick up a couple of interesting questions during her closing remark. I know there has been much interest shown in today's session, and I am very proud for that. There will be other dedicated events to promote exchange, believe me. So I would ask Lida to take the floor, please.
I know everybody's dying, it's over lunchtime,
yes,
but
yeah.
It shows the dedication and it shows the highest professionalism of everybody that contributed to have this peer learning. And we still have people that haven't run away, which is a big thing. Big thank you. I've written a note there, not to take, so please read my note there.
Yeah.
It has been such an inspiring, such lovely, and so much to learn, and so much in common that we have. It doesn't matter which country we are from, which continent we are from. It will be followed. And please, we have sent it there, also the link of the open space in ETF, because we want to promote you even further for many reasons. For learning, because 2 hours peer learning, we know, it's only the vitrina, as we say, no? It's connections on all how the partnerships, and also we will dedicate some other sessions on this, seeing the interest, where we will focus also more on the key things that you presented that can be of highest interest. When I say highest, everything is high interest, but highest that they might need to follow given in their context, where they can approach you and exchange, and also being it with their own initiatives and funding of the countries, but also Erasmus, as we know. Our partner countries and our members of social inclusion, they are all countries that participate in Erasmus. And this peer learning is one of these things, to follow up, to link up on the themes you see that they are priorities in your policies, practices, country context, and how you can develop further. Next week, we will have the other peer learning, which will be on work-based learning. And here today, you see, because there is no separation, because we have sub-themes in Centers of Excellence. We have many of them, the green, the inclusive skills, the technology and innovation. As we have shown with this peer learning activity on social inclusion, it's not just as it was the old model, who was left behind. We are all left behind or put forward depending on what the education system does to the individual. So we will have more cross-cutting, peer learning, where we can present what are the key areas that we can follow, if also with all the members and new members, we agree to continue for a second phase, where it will be more concrete, not just peer learning, but to unpack the key priorities that you choose as membership to develop. I close it here because, sorry, forgive us but you are heroes. And big thank you on behalf of the ETF and the ENAP, and also big thank you from our management, and we will meet soon, and hopefully also in person. Now, Manuel, do you want to say a word, or ENAP? But I think just big thank you to all.
Thank you, Lida. Thank you. It's 40 minutes beyond, and this proves that we need more sessions. And as Lida said, right now we have more life. And the other day I announced that our partnership in social inclusion from Network for Excellence will go ahead for the next years, and we will have more opportunities for exchange. Indeed, today our members showed us again that resilience is a key factor for vocational excellence. I think is one of the messages I keep with me and take away. With youth on the focus, I think also with many experiences that touch in classrooms for overcoming barriers for student participation, with people with different problems, and also the type of COVES could be different as recipients for social inclusion. But you show it today also that a strong organizational culture is essential for accepting the diversity of the students and putting them in a constructive approach for achieving good results. Important role also school leaders, critical role also for the mobilization of expertise at the schools, on which also you create innovative tools, etc. Autonomy, another big factor, important factor. So We have also further work that also Loretta and colleagues can share with you with other projects at the ETF, which is about also innovative teaching and learning practices. So we are not alone from Network for Excellence. We have our colleagues also in the ETF that are working also, for example, in READY model. Some of you maybe heard about it, on how sustainability and inclusive learning also for environments that are inclusive. So 23 May, we have another event in digitalization of teaching and learning. So we will be there. 6 July also, we have another one in our partnership on green. So keep tuned. A strong interest today also, we witness a strong interest on African practices. Thank you very much, all of the people that shared practices, because indeed our force is the network, and we will continue networking for vocational excellence. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, and big hugs to the members. No, big hugs and for all presentations. Big, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
colleagues.
And thanks in our team, and thanks.
Thank you, Lida.
Thank you.
Bye.
Till soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.